First of all, addressing just an aspect of it, just a bullet point of it, and I've had the same thought too. So I empathize. I get it. One of the worst reasons to want to succeed is to go, hey, fuck you.
Yes.
Welcome, guys. Welcome to Ben the Menace. We got a guest again. I'm doing a lot of interviews right now, and I'm about to talk to somebody who I'm very curious about. Someone who I know literally. He does a persona on stage as a comic. So I know nothing unless he is that guy.
Yeah. It's not a persona.
That's who you are.
Yeah.
So now you're being someone else.
Well, no.
This is Sam.
No.
This
okay.
is Sam Orson, by the way.
Dude, I get this all the time. I got this since I was a kid.
Okay.
Since I was a kid, people would always come up to me and they'd be like, "Are you doing a character right now?"
Oh, interesting.
And I never really knew what that meant. And then,
now, is this one of those comedy origin stories where you figured something out that works for you, and then you go, "I'm just going to tell everybody I've always done this"? Because a lot of comics do that. I can think of a couple off the top of my head who are like, yeah, I was always just kind of like calling shit out.
I was always just kind of saying what I see, just calling it like it is. Dude.
When I was 10, my teacher kicked me out of class for calling it like it is.
Yeah. I've never had a filter, dude. I've just never had a filter.
I can think of a few off the top of my head.
I just knew growing up that a normal job wouldn't be for me.
No, it's like Steven Spielberg going like, as a 7-year-old, I used to do this all the time, you know?
No, I was like, was at this comic because people always think that I'm like a character comic, and like maybe I don't really know what a character comic is, but that's also a possibility. But what it is, especially like the past 6 months, what it basically is, it's just me, and then I exaggerate my own self to like an extreme. So it kind of comes across as satirical and characteristic, but it's kind of taking like a small thing about myself and it's really blowing it up.
No, that makes sense. I mean, that's what most comics do anyways. Yeah. But I would say a lot of comics, let's say that their normal volume level is 3 and they turn it up to 6. You're going up above 10.
Yeah.
Like Spinal Tap. You're like at 11.
Yeah.
Like Spinal Tap.
Exactly. Yeah. And I'm naturally kind of a loud person anyway. So
I can hear it. Yeah.
Like obviously, like I can't. And that's how I am kind of when I'm more like home alone. That's how I am like around close people.
I want to talk about Home Alone, by the way.
Okay. But like I can't be that person all the time in society because you can't function in society at an 11 all the time.
Sure,
Otherwise
sure.
You'd be like, this person's insane.
Yeah.
I couldn't hold down a job.
Yeah.
I can't
pay your rent.
I couldn't do anything if I was just always like, hey, I'm going to be myself, turn up to 11 all the time.
Literally the only thing you can do at an 11 all the time is be homeless.
Yes. Oh my God. You have to do that at 11. Oh my God.
I think that's why they're homeless too. It's like it goes both directions.
Because they're always at 11 and they just call it like it is, dude. They call it like it is.
That's a group of people that doesn't care about their origin story, no. But it probably makes a lot more sense than comics' origin stories.
Yeah.
And the origin story is I'm schizophrenic, but we can move on. Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. Well, I don't know what to do about this either. So I live in West Hollywood. I live like right by Runyon Canyon.
Okay, we live close by each other.
You live close there?
Yeah. I'm moving, so I can tell people I live very close by there.
I'll tell you where I live. Come find me. I don't give a shit. Right at the bottom of Runyon Canyon. Come see me.
I live on. We should hang out before I move. I live on Hollywood and Genesee. I live like
that's right by Genesee. That's
before
like
Fairfax.
Nice.
Yeah.
Real close.
Yeah.
Why are you moving?
I'm moving across the country, actually.
To where?
Very long. I'm moving to New York.
Is that because
I want to do comedy there, and I like it more in a lot of ways, and I have a free place to stay for 2 months, possibly 3. Which I can just get my bearings and not have to worry about rent initially, and then get an apartment. Like
that's
just
nice.
It's a nice situation.
Otherwise, you're gonna rush in and get into a shitty place. That's what I did when I moved here. I moved in the spot right in Hollywood Boulevard because it was like quick, and I'm like, dude, this sucks. It's fine. But wait, does everyone know if they watch this episode, they know you're having a kid?
No, people. We're gonna put this one out a little later than some of the other ones. Yeah. You just said I'm having a kid.
Do they not know that? Okay.
No, they won't know. They'll know by the time this comes out.
Okay.
This is like dates or like thing. You know, when people talk about, they're like, by the time this comes out, that'll have already. I won't have had a kid yet, but I'll be telling people the kid is coming. You know, people have specials coming and blah blah blah. I have a child coming. Her name's Scarlett Joe Herwitz. My soon-to-be wife is pregnant currently. It's a big deal. And we're moving to a significantly worse location for
Yeah,
that.
so I was gonna say New York to start a
No,
family is like the
we're gonna literally have a kid on the subway, and then and we're fine with it. To be honest, both me and my wife wish that we grew up like that on some level. Like, wish that we grew up in New York. Wish we grew up with more happening, more like cultural diversity, more shit like that going on. Maybe a little bit of danger, maybe a little bit of adversity initially. I mean, we're gonna be in a small apartment with a child, no question.
Wait, so you're saying you wish you grew up that? So like you
I
guys
wish
can
I grew
finally
up
grow up that
poor.
way, or you're like, I can give this kid the opportunity to live like I want.
I'm gonna give the kid the opportunity to live the way that I wish that I did, and I'll probably, after all that is said and done, learn that was a bad idea, and that I shouldn't have wanted to live like that. But that's our plan. That's what we're gonna do.
Yeah, well, I mean, the kid's not gonna know what's going on until he's like 4. He
That's
doesn't
what
know the planet is
everybody's
on.
like. Because I keep saying like, oh, I got to get my shit together, and like, no, you got 4 years.
Yeah, you got 4 years. I mean, like, my first memory is probably when I was like, I don't know, 9, 10.
Well,
before I
but
started
the
having
difference
memories.
is my kid is going to be on the subway where people get shot in the head now.
Yeah.
So she'll remember all of everything. When you have traumatic memories, you remember them.
Yeah, and you'll get the memories from the guy's brain who splattered on you. You can absorb those as well. You get those
Transmuted memories.
yeah, you get a little taste of that.
No, I almost drowned when I was like 3.5. And
Do
I
you
remember,
rem- do you remember that?
I remember that vividly.
Did you fall in a pool or something?
Ocean. I jumped on this guy's surfboard. It's a long story, but I jumped on this guy's surfboard that was on the beach.
Yeah.
And the tide took me out. And
That's scary.
I remember that like every second of that. And it was kind of cool because I lived and my dad grabbed me.
Wasn't a strong lifeguard or something.
Right. My daughter will have similar memories, but I won't grab. No, I will. I'll grab her.
You say daughters.
I keep thinking I don't know. I have no idea. I just made that up. I can't. I hate saying like him or her. Just pick one. You know.
Yeah, it's in it until it's like 3 years old, dude.
Yeah, I'm gonna raise my kid. My kid's gonna be non-binary. I'm
Yeah.
raising her non-binary.
That's good. A non-binary living in New York. You're giving that's the life you
Made
want
to be.
dude.
No, she's gonna be a heroin addict and she's gonna be in rehab by the time she's 7. That's what normally happens to New York kids.
What's your is your wife? Does she work? What does she do?
She works. She does admin for a company that basically does paperwork for construction companies, and she's gonna see if she can go remote or just find a separate job out there. And I'll be working too.
Yeah.
We're all working. Include the kid will be working too.
The kid's got to work, dude. The kid's expensive over there.
Yeah, it's expensive as shit. I mean, we want to find the best situation possible. And 3 months free rent, and you average that out over a year, the first year won't be that expensive.
Where in New York is the free rent?
Brooklyn, and then if we need to, we'll go upstate for a second. Not that far, like 45 minutes upstate.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm excited. It's a good situation initially, and if it's sink or swim. If we don't figure it out, it could be a fucking disaster. But if we do, I think it could be great.
Yeah, dude. A move cross country sounds so like.
While pregnant.
Yeah, it just sounds like I'll stay
But
here
also-
for the rest of my life,
Okay,
rather than deal with that.
Hold
once.
on. I understand what you're saying. It makes a ton of sense. Anyone who's logical or reasonable would say, "What are you doing? Bad idea." But ever since she got pregnant and we decided we were going to do this, good things have been happening. I also sound like I'm about to cry for some reason. It's like I'm slipping, like a domino effect of good luck is happening. For like I told this
Since
story.
she got pregnant, so when is this domino
We
effect
found out
started?
she was pregnant like less than 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I told you before the podcast, I came in her 15% at most. Say you're publicly urinating. You think that someone's driving by is going to see you, and you stop. You're peeing a little, like, oh shit, and you put your penis away and you go find somewhere to pee. That's how much I came in my wife, instantly pregnant. I went like and stopped. Her hips grew that second. And ever since then, I do horse betting. I don't know. I've talked about gambling a little bit on stage.
guy.
Yeah. I bet on horse races, and I'm getting better at it. I'm getting more disciplined. Since she's been pregnant, I won a $500 bet the weekend that we found out. And then today, before you got here, I won $800. So if I keep winning like this, New York's going to be cheap.
This horse betting, is this going to like ruin your life? This horse betting?
It already kind of has.
It sounds like a not good thing.
It's not good. It's not, but those little things to me are just like, it's just luck.
Yeah.
I put $60 in today and I got 800 back the day we decided we decided we're moving to New York today.
Yeah.
Because I got an email from the person about house sitting today. And also last week I had one of the funniest stories, best stories ever happen to me just by chance within the time frame of the pregnancy. I told it on the last podcast, but I'll tell you just the nuts and bolts of it. I was trying to do an interview for a job serving tables at Fogo de Chao.
Yeah.
You know Fogo de Chao, Brazilian steakhouse?
That's like a really nice one.
Yeah. All you can eat.
You make tons of money, right?
You probably can make good money.
Yeah.
I actually found out that you don't, but I thought you could. They pool the tips and the waiter doesn't serve the meat. It's a shit show.
Yeah.
At all you can eat places, I'm realizing, because I worked at a Korean barbecue place too. The problem with those places is everybody thinks they're doing everything. Like at the Korean barbecue place, you cook your meal.
Yeah, I only go to Korean barbecue if somebody else. I'm like, are you going to be cooking the food? You know?
Yeah.
Like if somebody else is cooking, I don't like doing that.
But also the fact that someone at your table is cooking makes you go, we did everything.
Yeah.
So you don't tip the fucking guy who's been running raw meat to your table.
Oh, they don't do that?
I had tables go like, well, we did it, so let's tip him $2.
Oh, God.
For $100. It's a horrible place to work.
Yeah.
But that's not the story is I'm trying to get remote jobs because I'm planning long term. I'm trying to get short term service industry jobs. I'm just applying for hundreds of jobs right now. So I thought I was going in for an interview at Fogo de Chao as a waiter, and I walked in and this guy yelled my name who was already sitting and eating, who obviously in hindsight did not work for Fogo de Chao. and he yelled my name. He was like, Ben, come on, Ben. And I'm like, oh, fuck. Did I cross my signals and think I was going for a service industry interview, but was actually going for another interview?
And it's just at Fogo de Chao?
I sat with this guy. We had a bottle of wine. We fucking ate meat. He was like, have some lamb, dude. Fucking have some lamb. He had their coasters on the table at Fogo de Chao. It's red, and then you flip it, and green means you can start eating meat. He goes, it's red right now. Green means go. Green means go. You ready to go? Let's go. And I'm just like, I don't even know if I'm here in the right place. And I ended up having, I'll just do this, truncating the story. I had like a 90-minute interview / business lunch with a guy, and it turned out he was with the wrong Ben.
So you just got wined and dined.
Free meal, half a bottle of wine, fucking talking about the sales job. He slides 2 Google Nests over to me, which are like thermostats. Yeah. He's like, we're selling HVACs. And I'm like, I guess we're selling HVACs, you know? It was a lot of like just improv. I don't even do improv. I was just yes-anding this dude. He goes, yeah, we talked about the guy Carl. And I go, yeah, Carl's great. I love Carl. And he's just like, yes. You know?
I would love to be in this situation.
It was
That's
incredible.
Where I thrive, dude.
I was just kind of faking it the whole time. And then eventually Ben Solomon shows up.
Who I assume is the other Ben.
He goes, after 90 minutes of talking to this guy about our families, about, different strategies, sales tactics, how to install I'm talking about how to install heat and air with a guy. I've never done any of this. He goes, why are you calling me right now? And he's like, kind of getting it's not as fun anymore.
Oh, yeah. It clicks.
Yeah.
I might have just fucked up.
He goes, why are you calling me? And I go, and on the phone it says Ben Solomon.
Yeah.
I go, my name is Ben Herwitz. And he goes, oh, fuck. And then this other guy walks in, Caesar haircut, like the exact opposite of me.
Yeah.
Tattoos. He looked like he was like kind of vaguely Spanish or something. He looked like Kelvin, kind of covered in tattoos. And then what happened is the guy who had been interviewing me was like, well, you can stay, but I'm gonna have to do the whole sales. So he's already pissed. Yeah. He's like, I'm gonna have to do the whole sales pitch again. So I'm just sitting and quietly eating meat while he's doing the same spiel again.
Oh my God.
And then eventually I was like, I got to go find out who I was supposed to meet. I crossed my hair. I don't know where I was supposed to be. And then I went and had like a really sad, boring interview for a job waiting tables at Fogo de Chao.
Yeah.
And I know that the host and the manager knew what happened. And I sit down with the manager and I was like, that was crazy. And he's like, what's your experience?
You're just like, let's get
did not care.
We're done. This guy's an idiot. Let's get him out.
Yeah. when are you available?
Yeah.
And he's like half-assing the notes. So I didn't get 2 jobs.
Yeah.
But I had a free lunch that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it sounds nice.
And then I drove my girlfriend to the airport, girlfriend, and was drunk. Driving her to I realized halfway through that I was like, I shouldn't be driving. This is dangerous. She was like, you missed 3 turns. Are you drunk? And I go, oh, I'm drunk. Holy fuck.
And would you consider this story part of the good luck that you've been having?
This is an amazing story.
Yeah, it is. I picture this guy as like a big fat guy with slick back hair.
Are you a football fan at all? Not really?
I see it
can't
on the
tell
screen
with you.
sometimes.
Again.
Not really, no.
Okay. If we could pull up a photo of Brady Quinn, could you pull him up? He was a quarterback for Notre Dame a long time. This is like a deep cut for NCAA football, but this guy looked exactly like this guy, but half Filipino. But he looked exactly like this guy.
How long was his first sales pitch to you before the guy called?
Dude, he was so pushy that I barely said anything for 45 minutes.
45 minutes?
Up front, I said almost nothing. Exactly like this guy. You want to show him?
That's what I would expect. I was expecting that guy, but like 10 years older. But
good looking, younger, kind of like buff, but also looks like he maybe drinks at lunch a lot.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of guy.
Totally.
He's talking about. He's like, I got two kids, 2 different women. It's always a girl, right? And you know that kind of stuff. Yeah. He's got like little jokes, but like his little canned jokes are like, I'm a pedophile. You know, it's like a bad thing. I'm a bad guy. You know. Yeah. He's like, I got a date. He's like, I went to the museum earlier. Got a date tonight. I'm just like, so this guy's just like running around
the children's museum,
philandering. And he came up from San Diego. We talked about the drive from San Diego. I've driven from San Diego a lot. I've driven down for stand up. So it's like, oh, you got to drive at night. He goes, yes, that's what I did. You know, that's the conversation we're having.
Oh my god.
He goes, you can't. I was like, you can't drive on the weekends. He goes, absolutely. That's what I don't do. You know, like a lot of.
Yeah.
We're talking about hunting. Where I told one. I got like one joke like within the confines of this kind of salesy meeting off, and he laughed so hard I thought he was gonna like choke and die. He was like loving it. He fist bumped me like 4 or 5 times during the conversation.
So who did you think you were? Did he know you were a comic? What do you know about you?
Or he thought I was.
He thought you were Ben Solomon.
Here's what he thought. He thought I was a guy named Ben Solomon who just moved down from Canada, who was looking for work running a sales team for Google, doing heat and air. It's a guy who has experience in selling heat and air systems for households. It's a very like Mormon job.
Dude, I was gonna say I grew up Mormon, so I know all about that kind of shit.
I want to learn more about you.
All that kind of like
when we're done talking about Ben Solomon,
door-to-door sales, that kind of stuff. I'd love to hear this guy's story that he told his girlfriend when he got home. Like this fucking idiot.
I'm glad we're talking about it because stereotypically Mormons love selling like alarm systems because you do missionary work.
That's exactly what it is, dude. So when anybody is like, and you're good, you get really good at it. I never went on a mission.
You learn how to sell God.
Yeah. 2 people in France who hate God. Yeah. That's what you do. Dude, my sister, that's where I didn't go on a mission with my sister. She went to France, and I think she converts like, if you go to France, you'll convert like 1 or 2 people, maybe. If you go down to like South America, you're like 300-400.
Right.
You're cranking them out.
So that's like the real like great like the the Wolf of Wall Street guys go to France. Like the really good salespeople are like going to the tough areas. You can probably sell in certain areas. You don't need to be good. You just say, "Hey, I'm a Mormon," and they go, "Yeah, so like cool, let's do it."
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
tell me.
I think so. A part of it is
what area did you grow up in? You grew up in.
So I was up in Seattle for like the past 12 years, but my whole family's from like southern Utah.
Got it.
My dad's from Salt Lake.
Yeah.
So very Mormon, but like there's a lot of that like Mormons are extremely like entrepreneurial and for whatever reason they just love starting like those pyramid style
sales
businesses.
Well, also I feel like you're so dedicated to the church. Maybe school isn't emphasized quite as much, and you're great at sales because you've done the missionary work. So why not?
Yeah, and they make tons of money. Like there's like this one called Vivint. It's just there's so many things that are basically the same thing. It's like you're selling security systems, you're selling solar. I have a friend that's my first question I asked him when he got it. He's like, I got a job selling solar. I'm like, you working for Mormons? And he goes, how'd you know? It's like, I know, dude.
No, it's all Mormons.
And
I know.
And they are so good at like, because one, they're super friendly.
Yep.
And so good about getting in the door because they did it for 2 years. You're knocking on doors 8 hours a day for like basically 2 years straight.
And do you still believe in God?
No, I haven't been Mormon since I was like really young.
Okay,
like
so
14,
you've rejected a church, so I can say this.
You can say whatever you want.
It's like, selling God, like no one really needs God. Like 100%. You don't. It's like maybe it helps, but it's like you don't need it. You know what you do need? A fucking alarm system. It's so much easier to sell that than God. So you've already started with a hard pitch, like a difficult sales job, and then anything else is going to be easier by comparison. And you make money. You don't make any money selling God.
These people will go. They like tour like rock stars. They'll like go on tour selling security systems for like 4 months.
Yes.
They'll make like $300,000-$400,000, come back and then just lift weights and like have sex with their hot Mormon wives, crank out a couple more kids, and then do it again.
That's amazing. And that's how you support a huge Mormon family.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, but they just make tons of money doing it. They're really good at it, and it's like for whatever reason, there's a big hub. You'll notice like a lot of those solar sales, security sales are like a lot of them are in Provo, a lot of them are in Salt Lake. A lot of like
you're making a lot more sense now.
Yeah.
I was like, what's this guy's deal? Oh, he's Mormon. He's Mormon. Yeah.
Grew up Mormon.
Yeah, that makes a lot. You big lumberjack guy.
I'm trying to get as big as possible, man. I was so skinny for my whole life.
Interesting. Okay.
Just started like, cause I was like also for like basically all my 20s, I was an alcoholic and was just so skinny. Like
interesting. Okay.
6'4", maybe like 145 pounds. Like you could see me living. Like everything was like so bad. So now that I haven't drinking for like almost 3 years, but whenever I see myself like getting skinny, I panic because I'm like, oh, I'm going back.
Now, was that like an active rebellion against the Mormon church, you feel like, the drinking? No?
I don't think so. I think it was just more because I was never really like a rebellious kid. Like when I left, it wasn't like people always assume like, oh, when you leave a church like that, it's going to be a blowout.
That's what I assume.
So I'm like, nothing like that. Family was always super cool, still very close. So that's kind of a unique thing about my situation. When I say I left, everyone's like, oh, you escaped it. It's like, it wasn't that bad. Like it was fine. It was totally fine. I think it was more for me, the reason I like wasn't super into like the religion at the time or anything like that. It was just like, I was so curious that it was like very hard for me to understand how somebody who was born into this thing is like, oh, I'm going to basically live my whole life this way.
Right.
Go on a mission. And here's what I see. So for me, I have no problems. I have no ill will towards the Mormon church like whatsoever. But I do have like friends or people in the family who they left maybe when they were like 35, 40 years old. And that's after they went on a mission for 2 years. They maybe got married young. They maybe had like 4 or 5 kids. And they made all these decisions based off the church. Now they don't believe it. And now they're like, well, fuck this thing. Because like it's ruined I based my whole life around this thing.
Yeah.
And like I would have made a lot of these decisions most likely if I wasn't Mormon. Especially like if I went on a mission and then left, I would be pretty frustrated because then it's like I did 2 years of like
it's a lot of time. It's so taking a lot of time from you. If it's something you find out, oh, this actually isn't exactly right for me. That's a lot of. It's honestly it's like getting a PhD in something that you're not going to do anything with. Like why spend that time there? Yeah,
and I also find it like a little bit like when they send kids out like that are 18 years old.
Yeah,
I find it like a little bit because one, what do you know when you're 18? You don't know anything.
Yeah,
and two, in my mind, when I would see that, this was like more of like a manipulation. I don't want to use it has like a negative connotation, but it kind of is. It's like, oh, if we send these 18-year-old kids out, it's gonna like really solidify them in the church because like it's gonna be way harder to like go to tell everybody else you believe this thing, spend 2 years of your life doing it, and then you're gonna be less likely to be like, actually, I don't want to do this anymore because you'll have that thing in your head where like I spent 2 years telling everybody this was true, all this stuff. I'm going to stick this out because. So for me, it was like almost when I look at sending kids out that young, it was like, dude, this is just a way to keep these kids conditioned into this thing versus like trying to actually spread the word. Like there's people that will go on missions when they're older too, and that's like a lot. I like that a lot better because it's like, okay, you're 40, 50 years old. Kind of know who you are. You kind of know what's going on here a little bit more than like some 18-year-old kid who just graduated high school.
No, that makes sense. I mean, there's an element of indoctrination in all religions, but Mormonism seems pretty intense. Like they're trying to get you in so deep that you can't get out, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and you can always
get out.
You can always get out, but
it's like you said, the later you do it, the worse it's going to be.
It's more in your head that they make you
deeper in your head. You got a whole life built around it. You might have a family built around it. All sorts of stuff. And you got out, but you didn't have a family or anything like that. No,
I was married for like 6 years. But
really?
5 years. Yeah.
Whoa. You got married at what age?
23.
Oh, okay.
I knew her for like maybe like a week.
No, she didn't go to Seattle with you.
No, we lived in Seattle at the time.
Oh, got it. Okay.
So
Post Mormonism.
Yeah, this is way post Mormonism.
Okay.
This is like middle of like.
Wow, you've lived like 3 or 4 lives already.
I've lived a lot of shitty lives, and I feel like okay, I'm onto a good one now.
Finally, yeah.
It was like
I feel that way too. I don't think I might be lying to myself.
Yeah.
But
you got some good luck.
Yeah, so far some good. Like, this week has been good.
Oh, but yeah. So, and this was like during the middle of like maybe my hedonistic lifestyle, and like we met. She was kind of crazy too, and we got married after knowing each other for like a week.
You were a musician. You were playing music. Or something?
Yeah, so I had just like left this startup I was working at, and I was like, I'm gonna start doing music.
I mean, if anything's more Seattle, I can't think of it.
Yeah,
I just left a startup to play music.
Yeah, and I was like, so we were. I mean, it's not crazy interesting. But we were married for like 5-6 years. Ended up splitting. It's very like amicable, you know, because it was like we got to the point where it was like, hey, we don't. For a while, it's like, because everybody, you know, when you get married after knowing someone for so little, they're like, what are you doing? You're insane. And part of you is like, oh, I'm going to prove them wrong and I'm going to make this last forever. It's going to be great. And then like, after a while, like, hey, we don't have to like do this anymore.
Yeah. Well, spite can fuel you, but not for that long.
Yeah, and it's also like, who gives a shit too? Like, who really cares? And it was just like, we were good friends. We should have probably just been friends.
Yeah.
And she's remarried now. She just had a kid, and she's like living a life that she would definitely makes her happy that I could never do.
What does she do now?
No, it's just like living on her parents' orchard, this really beautiful orchard in Placerville. I don't know if you know where that is.
Yeah.
Northern California.
Yeah, that's where I'm not from there, but I'm from Northern California. Yeah.
And she's just married to a guy. They have a kid, and they're living like a simple, like almost like retired farm life. Which just sounds really nice, maybe for me if I was like 75 years old.
For 20 minutes sounds nice.
But then it's like there's nothing I could not do that.
Excruciatingly boring. Oh, look at all the apples, and then you blow your brains out.
So it's like one of those things where she's happy now. I could have never done that.
Right.
So it's like we had to go separate ways, man. But
that's cool. I mean, ending on good terms.
Yeah.
And everybody's happy afterwards. That almost never happens. That's pretty good. And you got out of Mormonism. I think you're just living a life where you're like you're walking on a tightrope, and you're not even. There's no slippage. You know what I mean? Like you should be on the ground right now, and you're just still on the tightrope, and you're like, it all seems to be working.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm not really following the metaphor super closely.
The metaphor is something bad should have happened.
Yes, something bad should have happened.
And it hasn't.
Everything kind of was like fine. Yeah. Everything was kind of fine. And I feel like when I moved kind of down here, I had like this new, I don't want to call it like perspective, but I feel like, okay, I'm on like life number 2.
How long have you been in LA?
Almost 3 years.
Okay.
So, but I feel like I experienced a lot of stuff before, and like I lived a lot of different ways, and I'm like, I probably should have maybe lost a lot, maybe died, something. And now I feel like this is like life number 2, and I have like a little bit more like, it's like a second chance. Everything now kind of feels like a bonus.
Kelvin loves saying stuff off.
It's true.
Off camera, no one can hear it.
Yeah.
Off mic.
Yeah. But it feels everything's like a bonus, because it's like I should have not really made it past that. It feels like so now it's just like I have like a little more room to breathe and do whatever.
I mean, we don't need to get too hokey, but I'm sure this would do well on a platform like TikTok. Maybe you're feeling some gratitude.
I'm feeling some gratitude.
Yeah.
I'm feeling like more space to breathe. I had one thing that was a problem for me for a long time is when I was doing music. Like I had this dead set vision for myself that like, oh, I want to be like a big rock star, and not like
I was gonna ask
for me too. Like I didn't want to like play music. I wanted to be like a rock, like have that life, you know.
Okay.
So it's not like
you want to be in. I was just watching that Metallica documentary.
Yeah,
have you seen that?
I haven't seen that one. No,
I forget what it's called. It's on Netflix right now. It's like Enter the Madness. It's about them
Into
like
the Sandman.
Something like that. doing their last album,
Yeah.
and they're all just yelling at each other the whole time, and they're just like these old, sad alcoholics, who are just like still holding on to a thread of what it used to be, and they're seeing like elite sports psychologists, and they're like trying to get their mind frame right. It's funny because they're living in like Marin County and San Francisco, like very nice areas, and they're recording there, but they're also just like, I'm still cool.
I'm still cool. Yeah, that's what I was like. So, and that's what I wanted to be.
But you wanted to live like them before.
I wanted to be like Mick Jagger. I want to be 75 years old. I still want to be drinking every day. I want to be doing cocaine every night. I want to be, doing whatever. And then I was so dead set on this. Like, I don't know where this idea even came from. Like this desire to have this life, but I felt like I've had it for a long time since I was a kid. And then like the more I'd get closer to that, like the more unhappy I was, and I still kept being like, power through this, and you're like, it'll be good. And anything good that would come into my life that didn't fit into my extremely narrow vision of this, I would be like, push it away, push it away. And I wasn't like listening to anybody else. And dude, I was just like so unhappy. And I was just like, why am I doing like it? The more, I wasn't super successful, but I had a good amount of success, and it just made me more and more unhappy. And like, I was like, dude, if I don't enjoy this, now, and it was like part of me was like, I don't want to say like I don't want to stop doing this, because it's like almost that spite thing, because everybody knows that like, oh, you
don't want to be the guy who quit.
You don't want to be the guy that quit.
Yeah.
And then so that took a long, even after, and I still do that kind of stuff, but like I had to really let go of like, you have to kind of like quit and be okay with that. And that was so hard it messed with my mind, because I just felt like
and you were doing something where people are stereotypically unhappy, people stereotypically don't succeed, and there's like some bitterness involved. And then you decided to do something where people end up in an even worse position psychologically. Stand-up comedy.
Yeah. Dude, but stand-up fits I should have been doing this back then too. Like that's what I should have been doing. I don't know.
Along with the music, you think?
Instead, I mean, maybe along with it, but it's just so much more. There was so much like resistance doing music, and with stand-up, there's like
interesting.
It feels so good.
Yeah, that's cool.
Like everything is going like smoothly. There's no like pushback. It's like it's hard. I bomb when I do mics. Sure. You bomb. You do shitty shows.
Yeah,
whatever. But like
the learning curve is steep. I'd be curious the comparison between the two. I mean, stand up is difficult. There's no question. Nobody says that it's not. Nobody.
No, and people don't. I feel like sometimes
and people who don't do it don't respect it,
and they don't get it either. So here's what I noticed too: people who first. Like I was talking to a friend who kind of started stand up recently, and he immediately like changed his, Instagram, all this stuff to like, oh, this guy comic, I'm doing comedy now. And I'm like, imagine if you just bought a guitar 2 days ago.
You can't do that.
And you're like, I'm a guitar player now. Yeah. It's like, dude, it takes like 5.
Yeah.
So long. People like think, oh, I got on stage, and maybe you can do that, but like, it takes practice. So like,
you hear and see that the only way to succeed is to have a social media that's oriented towards stand up. And it's like, everybody says this and they're right. Maybe you should wait a little bit.
I think even I am, because when I first started doing this, I was like, I'm just going to go to mics and I'm going to focus on getting good for like 2-3 years before I even like worry about anything else. And I'm still kind of like that, where I don't. And this is probably like what keeps it fun for me, is I'm not trying to like, how do I play this game? Like, how do I work this stand up? Who do I got to talk to? Who do I got to know?
Yeah.
Right now I'm still in the mode of like, hey, I'm like getting better. Like that's my only goal right now. And just kind of focusing on that. I've just noticed, like I said, least resistant. Like it just is like, if I just focus on that, it's a lot better than, sometimes I see comics that maybe they're even a couple years in, but they're focused so much on like the business side of it, and then you watch their stand up and you're like what are you selling? Like this isn't
you're trying to your goal is to sell yourself. And it's like, what's even the product? You don't even know what it is.
What is it? I don't know, because my stand up still change. Like when I look back like every 3 months, I'm like, dude, this is way like I don't feel comfortable in this. I put out stand up clips all the time just because I figure I
You got good clips. I like the clips.
Yeah,
and also you do funny edits too.
Yeah, I can do funny edits.
You zoom in and it gets intense.
That's my thing. So when I I do so I'm like a video director and editor for like my job.
Okay. That's nice.
So yeah, it's a
nice background to have.
I really enjoy doing it too. It's like and I think that's like one thing that might be different from me and like some people who want to be comics is like the comic, especially after doing the music lifestyle, and I'm like, this lifestyle of the full-time comic is not one that I want.
Okay.
You know, like people who are just like, all they do is wake up
On the road,
doing stand-up every night. Like, I want to do stand-up every night, but not like that.
Yep.
Like my goal, like I want to be a really good comic. My desire to be a famous comic is like zero almost.
That's probably why you're having fun.
And that's like the reason I like having a job and like doing, so this stays fun for me.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like sometimes like when I look at comics who are like all, you know, and if they're good, they all are full-time comics.
Yeah.
But they all kind of morph into like the same dude because it's like your experiences end up all becoming the same.
And there's a lot of people transitioning. You want another analogy? You know, when like,
transitioning, what do you mean?
well, into being full-time or into being more serious.
Yeah.
Like, it's like,
That seems tricky to me. That seems really tricky.
you know, when like a woman transitions to a man and you're like,
Yeah.
you got like 2 hairs,
Yeah.
you know, or like their face is a little, it's kind of, there's a lot of comics who are like there, who aren't making, or they're not full-time, but they're kind of starting to make money. They're like working the door at the store, which is like not enough money to live on really, but it's all about stand-up. It's the reason it's similar to the transitioning thing is it's like, you gotta fucking, which one are you?
Which one are you
gonna
do?
a woman? You know, you gotta pick.
We got Matt Walsh here, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll be honest about it. I know, like, more power to you if you transition, but I can't go like, what's happening?
Yeah.
You know, because it's confusing sometimes.
Well, who do you, if you don't have names, who's a comic right now that you feel like is
This is bad for YouTube. I know that.
who's a comic right now that you feel is like on the cusp that's doing that?
I know a few who are transition. No, I'm just kidding. Who's on the cusp? I don't want to name any names.
Yeah.
Unless Chris doesn't want to edit this. Yeah, I'm not going to name anybody in particular. But there are people who are like, I don't know. I mean, I just said working the door at the store.
Yeah.
You know, like, and they're great. Some of them are really, really funny, but they're all in, and it's very intense.
And the all-in mindset, I just feel like you're going to take so much of the fun out of it when you do it, when your livelihood depends on it, because then it becomes like
it's tricky.
Source of stress.
It's tricky no matter what, because unless you like strike gold and become a headliner almost by accident, you're gonna have to do that at some point.
Yeah.
If you're gonna do it full time, there's gonna be a little bit of fun sucked out of it for a little bit of time, and the question is how long. How's it gonna be? But that's kind of the nature of the beast a little bit.
Yeah, and that's why for me it's like I don't know if I want to go down that road necessarily. Like my goal is like what I'd really want to be doing is like directing during the day or writing on a show. One of the reasons I got into stand up was because I wanted to write on TV. I've written a lot of stuff, and I'm like,
same here. I mean, that's why I thought about it initially.
Yeah, and it's like this would be a good way to showcase my writing. Originally, a lot of my jokes, like right now, it's more of like a, you know, like if you want to call it a character, it's more of like a performance thing. But before it used to be like there's a well-written joke,
just jokes,
and like
that's what you're doing. You're doing jokes through a character.
Yeah. And so now sometimes I go back to jokes I wrote like at the very beginning, and then I'll like redo them the way I do jokes now. And I'm like, oh, now they work.
Yeah,
this is cool.
That does happen.
But it's.
I do have a music question really quick. We can get back into stand-up. This is a thought I had during the Metallica thing, and I'm sure I'm totally wrong, or I'm just like making rash generalizations about musicians. But I feel like musicians, especially when they're in a bigger band, were you on your own? Were you
I played in like projects that I ran, and then usually I'd play drums in other people's bands.
But kind of as like a mercenary. You weren't like part of the band.
I liked doing it as a mercenary a little bit more because I'm not super easy to work with creatively. So it was nice when it was like
same. You could ask these two guys.
So when I could join a band that was maybe like already 4 or 5 years established, and they're like, our drummer can't do it anymore. I'm like, I will do it now. Okay. You know, so then I don't have to worry about like writing songs. I can just show up. I can play,
and they're just happy you're there.
Yeah, and it's more fun. It's less stress. I can just focus on playing drums, and I like that a lot better. I've played in bands where we were all riding together, and I would get kicked out so quick. They could not stand me, because they're like, we can't have this. That's kind of yelling at us the whole time.
That's kind of where I was headed. And you don't fall into this category, but I do think a lot of the time, musicians maybe aren't the most eloquent people, or the best at telling you how they feel, or they sing it. Or they music it.
Yeah,
you know?
And they'll be like, oh, I talk how I feel through music. And then everyone's too scared to be like, well, what the fuck are you even... Nobody knows what that means either.
Yes.
And they're just like, oh, okay, it's good.
Like, I have a general sense that you're upset.
Yeah.
That's what I get. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And I think you're upset. That's all I'm getting.
At what? I don't know.
No idea. No specifics. The lyrics mean nothing.
Yeah.
And sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But what I'm saying is, like, in a band meeting, if you're I'm watching Metallica's band meetings in a documentary, and I'm like, if these guys just fucking took a communications class at a community college, they would get through this meeting and get somewhere at the end. One person's saying one thing, and the other guy's going, I don't know what that means. And the other guy goes, he just yells it again.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Oh,
He goes, that's hacky. And the guy's like, what does that mean? And the guy goes, it means hacky. They're just screaming. The same thing.
I usually don't like collaboration for bands or art in general. I like it when there's like, and I can go both ways on this, like where I can be like a guy that's supporting, or I can be the guy with the vision, but I don't like when there's a collective people doing it. I like one person in charge saying, hey, here's how we're doing this, here's what we're doing.
Yeah.
And then we can be like, okay, let's support this. But like when it's like 4 or 5 dudes, I know there's a lot of famous bands that like are known for this, but like, oh, let's get together and we'll all write songs together. I'm like, I don't want to hear that.
That's what they're doing in the documentary.
Yeah. It's like,
and
that sounds
they
like
want
a
to
nightmare.
rip each other's fucking heads off.
Yeah,
during
one
that.
person, one vision,
Yeah.
dude. Not a bunch of people. I do not like that, which is,
No, that makes sense. And maybe it has nothing to do with how good you are at communicating. Maybe that isn't even that relevant. But it's funny to watch musicians try to say something to each other, because they should just be like, they should just play it.
Yeah. If you can really communicate your feelings through music so well, then dude, why don't you do it now?
Yeah. It's like, well, but what do you want to do with the song? And they're like, that would be so much more successful than going like, no, this is what's wrong with, and then no one knows what each other's saying. And one guy's from Denmark and he doesn't even speak English that well, and his dad's there for some reason. It's just weird.
Yeah.
His kids are there. Everybody's drinking and their kids are around. That's the problem with an aging musician too. Oh, comics age better.
Yeah, and that's one thing too. I was as I got older and I would see like photos of like the Rolling Stones playing. I'm like, dude, this looks lame.
Yeah.
Like these are like old dudes. Like this is not cool anymore. Dude, and sometimes I see photos of like big comics like at the Comedy Store in the back, and I'm like, dude, are you guys too old for this shit?
I was just actually
like, this is like a bunch of you guys like hanging out in like this green room of this comedy club. You're like 80 years old. Like, is this?
Last night,
are you guys too old for this shit?
I had that thought last night. I'm like, if we're gonna get really deep, really into comedy, which we might as well. I love Bill Burr's great.
Yeah,
big fan of Bill Burr. When he's 63, I'm not going to be like really chomping at the bit for the next Bill Burr special.
Yeah.
And
that's how old he is now?
No, he's 50 something, but like it's going to happen soon. When he's a senior citizen, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I don't really want to hear what 65-year-old Bill Burr has to say. Whose kids are going to be 7 by then. Do you know what I mean? Like, you age out quickly. And if you make it late, it's like you got 2 decades tops and then you're just done.
Yeah.
And some people are like built more for aging. Honestly, ironically, Norm Macdonald, I would have wanted to hear anything that guy had to say till he died. Too bad he's already dead.
Yeah.
But like that guy was just an old man his whole career. So being an old man makes a ton of sense. Like 65-year-old Dane Cook, shut the fuck up.
Oh yeah, I wonder what he's gonna look like then.
What's he gonna be saying? What's he gonna look like? It's just not gonna look. It's not gonna play well.
Yeah. It's not gonna play. And like also like, there's a time and a place for that like lifestyle a little bit, and it's like, dude, what cool like 60-year-old dude is hanging out with 23-year-olds? Like I don't want to be doing that.
Right. Well, that's
it's like
that's a problem I have with LA. I mean, that's part of the reason I'm excited to move elsewhere. And I'm not saying that being in LA is inherently bad. It's not. Yeah. I mean, these two guys are kind of from LA, but they're just not from. But they weren't born in Bel Air, which changes a lot of things.
Yeah.
If you grow up in Glendora, it's like you have nothing in common with a guy who grew up in a gated community whose parents raised him trans or whatever's happening. Or if you tweet that's weird, then you get fired. All that kind of stuff. LA, and I don't even know. I gotta stop talking about this. Anything racial or gender. Why am I bringing it up? Yes, I keep using trans as an analogy.
It just works for everything.
Doesn't make any sense. It kind of is an effective one, but I just need a new one. In LA, we've all talked about this. You don't age quickly. People age a little slower because it's like a slower paced lifestyle. There's no harsh winters. a lot of the people work jobs where it's kind of it's important to be younger or at least to seem younger. Yeah. So there's like 45-year-old dudes, 50-year-old guys with holes in their jeans, wearing cool shoes, who are like, yeah, man, what's going on, dude? Let's hang out, man. Who are trying to date 20-year-olds. We're having like, yeah, totally, bro. You can't say bro if you're 47. You shouldn't, at least. So, what I don't want to, like, I wouldn't want my kid to grow up in an atmosphere where that's normal, and I wouldn't want that to be normal for me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, also, but then,
to age in a city where no one ages.
But then also, there's a flip side of that where you go to where I live in Utah, and people are 21 years old. They have 2 kids already, and they're married.
Yes, absolutely.
And it's like that's also
no. There's a middle ground that's probably better, no question.
Which I would prefer the
yes. LA's better.
Yeah. in that case, if we're being clear, because it's just like. Oh, yeah, I don't know, but there's something about that, like, dude, it's like sometimes, like, you missed something and that you got to be okay with that. Like, you missed, like, there's a time and a place for something, and, like, maybe you're past that, and, like.
What are you saying to me? No, what do you mean, though? Like, more specifically?
So, like, that's kind of what I'm talking about when I would see photos of, like, people. Like the same thing where you see like these older comics that are hanging out with like the new generation that's like, you know, in their early 20s.
Yes.
It's like, is this fun for you to like be talking like, I can't like talking to like a 20-year-old kid, dude. How old
are you? You're
31.
I'm 33.
Yeah.
It's not fun for me.
No, I don't go on dates very often. I haven't gone on one for a long time. I remember I went out with this girl who was like 23.
Yeah.
I was like 30, maybe 29. And I was like, dude, this is a completely different animal. I don't even know what this is right now. Like, how am I supposed to? Like, literally to the point where if I had like sex with this person, I would feel like I did something horribly wrong.
Yep. And pre-marriage.
23. That's normal. That's fine.
I've literally done that.
Yeah.
I've been like, am I a pedophile? What did I just do?
Yeah. It's like, what are we talking about?
And she finished college, but I just feel weird about it.
It's so odd.
No, I get that.
So it's like, I don't know, like when you have that desire to like, I don't know. I like hanging around people that are like in my same space in life. You know, it's like, and it's not all an age thing, but like, I think that's what makes it weird, like hanging out with a 23-year-old. I think if you're 40 hanging out with a 30-year-old, it's a little bit different because like, if you're 23 years old, there's so many experiences you haven't gone through yet and they're like, you know, between 20 and 30, like the amount of shit you go through the first time is huge.
Yeah.
Between 30 and 40, the amount of shit you go through that's new is like a lot less.
Yes.
So it's like if you're a 40-year-old talking to a 30-year-old, you're going to have like a lot of the same life experiences. You know, you're talking to a 23-year-old, she may still be living, never rented her own place yet.
100%.
Never had a job. Like that kind of shit where it's like you don't.
Well, in LA, she might be in her own place that some old man is paying for. You never know.
Which is crazy how easy that is.
Happens all the time.
I have a friend who lives in New York and she sends me like DMs she gets from people all the time. That's just like, hey, come live with me. I'll give you like, you know, pay your rent, give you a $6,000 a month allowance. It's like, dude. Hey, Jesus Christ.
More power to you.
Oh my God.
No, I know exactly what you mean. Well, but the scary thing about LA to me in particular is like there are older people who are still trying. They want to embody the personality traits of that 20-year-old.
Yeah,
that you don't want anything to do with at this point.
Yeah, and that's very odd to me. That's very. Yeah, it's like,
and there are always pros and cons, always, but that's a big con, right?
Yeah, because I've literally no idea what I would talk to this person about.
What? Yeah. No, but they're like, again, I don't want to name too many names, but I can think of one comic who was on SNL, blonde guy. You know, David Spade.
Dude, David. I'll have a story about David Spade after this.
He's a funny dude. He seems like a nice guy. He seems cool. I flew with him once actually, and I watched him deal with paparazzi, and he was cool. Cool dude. Yeah. He's almost intentionally lived a lifestyle where he's like, would like a 22-year-old be into this right now?
Yes, yeah. Dude. Okay.
He's reading People magazine. He's studying up. You know.
Here's the thing. I love David Spade.
Who knows who Doja Cat is? I don't know who that is.
I don't know who it is
either. He's 55, 60 years old almost. He knows who everybody is.
I think he's older than 60.
He's probably 60.
He was in Tommy Boy.
Can we look that up?
I don't know.
Yeah.
But here's the deal. First of all, I love David Spade. I liked his new Netflix special, whatever, is great.
He's funny. He's a
really
funny dude, yeah.
I was dating this girl when I first moved here.
Who dated David Spade?
58.
He's 58.
So this girl I dated, she was on The Bachelor like a long time ago. David Spade.
That checks out.
David Spade
Los
likes
Angeles.
that show.
Okay. Yes. Yeah.
And so me and this girl, we dated for like a brief amount of time, broke up, and had like an on again, off again thing for a long time. And David Spade would message her, and they would go out to dinners and stuff. And
it's starting to sound a little Cosby-ish.
Cosby-ish? Why? Oh, well, she's 30 years old, too.
Laying the groundwork.
Laying the groundwork. Anyways, she would tell, and we like, this would be like a period in time when we were like together and things are good. She'd be like, oh, I'm going out with David Spade tonight. And I'd be like, what the fuck? And she'd be like, oh, don't worry, we're just friends. He's not trying to do anything like that. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Are you insane? Of course he is.
Yeah. She's
I read
you a girl in her 20s is friends with David Spade.
David's like, that's a normal thing. And like the voice, he would send voice memos. By the way, I love David Spade. Okay, he would send these voice memos on Instagram.
That's what this episode should be called. David Spade's great, but
no, and he would send these voice memos like on Instagram. I think, or maybe they were on text or something. But they were very not overtly sexual, but they had very sexual tones to them. And then she would be like, nothing wrong with that. Like, he's just being friendly. And I'm like, dude, you are. I want to know if they had sex. I don't know if they did or not. I bet they did. And apparently she came home one time. She had this dog that would always bark. It was super annoying, this little wiener dog. But David Spade came into her apartment one time, and the dog kept barking at him. And then David's like, man, it sucks getting cock-blocked by a tiny dog like this. So he's trying to get sex. That's what I'm saying. Nothing wrong with that. And David, if you're doing a show at the Improv, I'm always
and also if you're almost
down to put me on the lineup. I won't talk about this ever again. We'll cut this out.
If you're almost 60 years old, it should be a criminal offense to say cock block.
Yeah, that might have to be, yeah. I don't know, but he seems like a fun guy.
Yeah,
One time she was like, "Do you want to come to dinner with us?" And I was like, "What? Did you ask him if that would be? Can I bring this guy with me? I don't think he'd want that." And I was like, "There's no way. I'm not doing that."
It would also just be funny if David Spade's constantly saying that everybody's cock blocking him. You know?
No, but he also like hosted The Bachelor in Paradise or something that too. Yeah.
Okay.
He's like a big fan of the show. I think he might have a thing for like that. Those kind of people that go on the show.
No, he likes pop culture.
Yeah.
Something that no one who's that old in any other city in America enjoys. Just generic pop culture.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I think he's like,
would you go on The Bachelor? You seem like you could do The Bachelor.
Dude, I turned it down this season.
What?
I had a friend. She applied. She's like, hey, recommended me for the show.
Okay.
They called me and they're like, hey, we think you'd be great for the show. I talked to a bunch of producers. I did made it through like basically 3 rounds. I basically had to do that little tape. There's a fucking Bachelor audition tape of me floating around out there. Pray to God, no. I don't know if somebody see my tiny cock.
What did they ask you to say in the audition tape?
Audition tape, it was basically just like hey, who you are, the background, why you want to go on this show. Basically like just a general one.
Okay.
But I think they had me kind of do it as a formality.
And you're just saying honest, you know, I'm a Mormon. Did you say you're a Mormon?
I don't know if I said that. I mean, I have it on my phone, I think. I can think I don't want to do that though. But basically kind of got down to it where it was like right before the point of like, okay, now we have to go get you to the doctor. You have to do all like the medical evaluations to make sure you can go on the show for like legal purposes. And then I was like, actually, like, then I kind of did some more research into the show. And I was like, one, I never really watched it. And I was like, dude, there's no fucking way I can go on this show. It was like so cringy and so bad. I'm like, dude, I keep it way too real for this. There's no way they'd even let me on. If they let me pop off on the show, it would not be good. Like they would not let it happen.
It would probably help you.
See, and that's the other thing is I looked Dude, the show is, if 10 years ago, 23 years old, fuck yeah, I'd go on the show.
Yeah.
But now it's like I'm 31. The show, after Chris Hansen is gone, or Chris Harrison, whatever one it is. One of them is the right one of them's the wrong one. It's not Chris Hansen, Chris Harrison. Since he left.
Did you audition for Predator? What is it called? You auditioned for Catch a Predator?
Oh, no. But I was like...
so I grew up Mormon for To Catch a Predator.
Hey, just considering you dust 14. What are we talking about here? What's the problem? What's the problem? No, but then like I was like, okay, but I'll still go on the show because I get some eyeballs on me. I can do it for stand up, whatever. And then like after watching it, I'm like, dude, this isn't. And like looking at the people who have been on it recently, I'm like, this is not doing what it used to do for people. This is not launching people into like best case scenario. You go on The Bachelor, you can sell Blue Apron subscriptions on Instagram for 6 weeks. It happens
to everything.
Yeah.
Everything dilutes over time.
So it's just like like you're not like a big public figure like you used to be.
Yeah, sure. Or you do the Tonight Show now.
Yeah.
Compared to the Tonight Show in the 70s.
Yeah, what's that going to do? Nothing.
Literally nothing.
And also, so if you go on The Bachelor, it's like 10 weeks. You don't get paid. You have to, and I have a good job that I like working at. Yeah. I like doing stand-up every night. Like, I don't want to go.
You have to quit your job and not do stand-up.
I have to quit my job and not do stand-up or ask him to be like, hey, can I go, dick around on national television, maybe have a, psychotic breakdown and then have you hire me back.
Develop a cult following because you lost your mind on the show.
Yeah, exactly. And that's something that would totally happen to me too. Dude, if I'm in a place like that and like, stuff is like I'm not liking what's going on and I feel like I can't get out, dude. I thrash. I'm like, get the fuck out of here. Fuck you.
Seattle music scene's coming out a little bit.
I just can't do it. So that's one thing I was talking to a friend about because I had some friends that were like, you have to do this, and then some were like, dude, you can't do that. Like my friends who really knew me were like, we really don't think you should do that. Just because, and then like I kind of agreed with it just because I'm like,
for this reason.
And it's just like, dude, it's just not a. And here's my thing too, and this could be a little bit big-headed of me, but like, I was talking to the producer, and I was like, I'm not gonna. I think I made something up. I think I'm gonna be on set for something else during that time. It's a good opportunity for me. She goes, just so you know, this is a big show. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity. Are you sure? And I was like, dude, maybe it's a once in a lifetime opportunity for these other jackasses who like aren't entertaining and like have nothing going for them. Yeah, for them it's a once in a lifetime. But like I'm hardworking, I'm funny, I can do other shit. Like this is not like a make or break.
As a hot young real estate agent, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. Yeah. I've watched Love is Blind. Everybody's in real estate.
Yeah, if you've been selling solar panels for the past 6 months, this is gonna be great for you.
If you're a cool young salesperson, very, very good thing to do. But yeah, you could ruin your career. You could also help it, but it's not worth doing.
Yeah, exactly. You could, but the when I did the calculations on my own, I was like, the risk reward on this is not worth it.
Yeah.
So, like I said, 10 years ago, being 23 years old.
You would have done it.
Totally. But now it's also like, I didn't realize the people on The Bachelor, like the average age is like 24.
Yeah. Yeah, they're young.
And I'm like 31. I'd be the oldest one on there.
You should do Love is Blind. They're a little older. What made you want to send in the tape in the first place?
Well, they reached out to me and they like.
Really? From your Instagram?
Well, so my friend submitted, like, they're like, who do you think would be good? You. Someone submitted me, and they reached out, and they're like, hey, we think you'd be great for this.
No, that makes sense.
And then it was already kind of, since I already had also Ben was somebody who was on The Bachelorette, I think they're like, oh, this will be good for the show because he's...
Oh, you got a backstory.
You got a backstory on there, so I think they really wanted to get me in there, but I was just like... Dude, when I first found out for like 3 days, I was like, fuck yeah, this is my thing. I'm going to get in. I'm going to be, it's going to launch my career. And then like I kind of like... The high wore down. And
you started thinking about it.
Like this is actually not what I want at all.
Yeah, you applied what no one has ever done who's been on The Bachelor, which is called reason.
And I wasn't supposed to talk about it for a long time because if they find out you're going to go on the show, you can't do it. But now I'm not going on it, so it's like it doesn't matter. I can talk about it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
We're gonna do a little segment to finish with. We're almost done here. Chris, do you have a question by any chance for Ben Changed My Life? You don't have anything? Yeah. I wish Kelvin was here. Where the fuck did Kelvin go? I'll just like recycle one of Kelvin's questions. But at the end, we generally do a segment called Ben Changed My Life, like Q&A, advice, life advice stuff. I ask Chris usually to put a little graphic here that says Ben changed, and he won't do it, but I send it to him. I send him a graphic. I ask him. I have a song that goes with it. I like have a whole thing. My best friend did like some rap thing, like a rap app.
Yeah.
I'll play it for you. After.
Yeah,
it's funny. Yeah. I might even just play it from my phone. It's a great song. It's a funny. Well, actually, maybe instead of
save him the time to edit it in. Just play it right
instead
now.
of the Q&A, because we don't have a question from Kelvin has like. Oh, there we go. Do you have a question, Kelvin? Q&A. For Ben Changed My Life, you got anything? You went out this weekend. Do you have any? Did you have any mishaps with women? That's what it's usually about. You can't take a second to think, and I'm gonna find the Ben Changed My Life song, and I'll play it for everybody. Yeah, Kelvin usually goes like, "This girl, I haven't texted her for what do I do?" You know, and that's it. Here we go. I don't know. Wait, that's. What if I just started playing you audio from a whole other episode? Let's find it. You got anything, Kelvin? Kelvin's been finishing our sentences all episode off mic.
I have a question for you if Kelvin doesn't have one.
Okay, you got a question for me. All right.
If it's like a relationship girl question that
Sure.
you're gonna answer,
Yeah.
you're probably gonna give me terrible advice. I can't imagine this being good. I can't imagine this.
It's not good advice.
I can't imagine this being anything I would take. I talked about this. You know the Chad and JT guys. Yeah, I did a little Chad has a new TV thing that he's doing or something. And we did an episode and we kind of talked about this a little bit.
Okay.
In a very...
I know that, yeah, Unstable. That's the new show on Netflix. Is that it?
Yeah, he's doing this. The thing I was doing with him was like a YouTube series he was doing that's kind of like his, him and JT show on Netflix. I think they're just going to do it as like a YouTube series, see if it gets any traction and try and make it into something bigger. That's my guess. I have no idea what's going to... This also could just be killed. Who knows? Mm-hmm. So here's my question for you, Ben.
Yeah.
So like maybe I'll say 2 years ago, I had this like maybe 3 to 4 month relationship with this girl. Mm-hmm. Okay. Following.
Yeah. I'll look up Ben Changed My Life in a second.
Really, really, really like this person. One could even say I was like when we first met. It was like both of us were like super into it for like maybe 3 months. Mm-hmm. And I was like, this is so fucking good. I love this. I love this. I love this. And then long story short, like after a couple months, it kind of started to pull away. Mm-hmm. And then I basically sabotaged it.
Okay.
You know?
Okay.
And I still think about this person all the time. And I'm not over it yet. And it's been like 2 years. Like, and it's hard when I think about like, dating other people or trying to, it's like, I don't like, I'm so like.
Do you stalk her online? Do you look at her stuff?
Sometimes? Not really.
Okay. I mean, just think about her. Old school.
Yeah, old school. Okay, just thinking, having some dreams.
School, caring about someone. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
But it's not so much that it's like the thinking about her all the time, but it's like when anybody else comes in, it's like, I'm not interested in anything else.
Okay.
You know, like I've not had like a romantic feeling since then at all.
And it was good.
The relationship?
Were there ups and downs? Was it tumultuous?
It was like really good. I think it was really good at first, and it wasn't really tumultuous. But like at the end, I did that thing which I'm not proud of. But when you like break up, or not when you break up, but when things are fizzling out, and then I'm like, what's wrong? What's going on? Why is this happening? And then just
you were taken off guard.
And then but then me like prying at it like that just completely like
fucks it up. Well, you see,
because when somebody does that to me too, I'm like, oh, this
desperate. It gets weird.
It gets weird, and so like that's kind of how the terms we left it on. So not like, not great, like not like didn't destroy it, didn't like yell. It wasn't like a fight or anything, but it was just like made myself look like a little bitch.
Yep.
Haven't talked to her for 2 years, and now I'm like, I reached out like maybe a month or two ago, and was like, hey, it's been a while. Hope you're doing well. We'll be down to catch up. And then she said, hey, yeah, I'm down. That sounds good. And then I didn't respond. Because as soon as I sent that, I was like...
Sounds like this guy.
Because as soon as I was like, I felt like, oh, I don't want to go through that shit again.
Yeah.
That took me so long to like get my head right, even though, my head's right now.
And you had been thinking about it the whole time. This is kind of what you wanted to have happen.
Yeah. And dude, sometimes I think about too is like, this is really messed up. It's like when I do stand up, I'm like, dude, part of the reason I want to get more successful is so when she turns on something,
I've been there.
there I am,
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, then that's
Yeah,
like
that's
a weird thing that motivates me. But my thing is like,
yeah.
and like ultimately, like the way I feel about her now is like, I don't think it's like probably the best situation for me. I think it might be like,
I think by definition, it's not.
yeah.
Yeah.
But do I just completely move, or do I still try and be like, hey, do you want to get together again, or do I just like?
That's your question.
Yeah.
First of all, addressing just an aspect of it, just a bullet point of it, and I've had the same thought too. So I empathize. I get it. One of the worst reasons to want to succeed is to go, hey, fuck you.
Yes.
That's one of the worst reasons to want to be on TV, so that someone who
Watches TV.
someone who watches TV, someone who you wish had more respect for you before, finally respects you.
Yes, not a good
I have a newsflash for you. They still won't.
Totally agree. Doesn't stop me from thinking it, though.
They'll be like, oh, that asshole's on TV.
Yep.
And then they'll change the channel, I've had the same thought. I've had that exact same thought. Luckily, I think at some point it'll leave you. And the answer is, I think you know the answer.
Yeah.
Definitely not. Why would you ever reach out to her at this point? You've already passed on it because you knew better, because your gut instinct told you not to do it. And you're going like, so everything in me is telling me not to do this. Should I?
Yes, that's exactly what I'm doing. Yeah, exactly.
So I would say no. That's for the Ben Changed My Life segment. That's great. I mean, that's a good question. Much more nuanced and interesting than a lot of Kelvin's questions. Where he's like, I want to fuck this girl. How do I do it? That's a good question. I mean, do you have anything else on that? Like, is there anything else that comes up? I want to get my computer and play Ben Changed My Life. So say something while I get my computer.
No, I mean, there's nothing more in that scenario necessarily. I think that one's kind of like, it is what it is. Dude, what I am interested in is like these guys. I have so many friends like this who.
I hate it when people leave me on podcasts. Sorry.
Yes, but I'd be interested to see like bring somebody on who's really good at like on dating apps, securing that hookup right away. Dude, like what?
I had a job doing this.
Like what? Oh, for what?
I literally got hired to do this professionally, and
Wait,
it like
girls' OnlyFans or something.
It fell through. No. I got hired by a Tinder coach.
Yeah.
To be a Tinder coach. I was like one of his sub assistant coaches.
So you know what to say to these women.
I was on his coaching staff.
Yeah, I'm so curious because I have friends that like 2-3 nights a week they're like hooking up with different people on these apps. I'm like, what are you saying to these people? What are you saying,
dude? Back in the day,
you have to be direct. If you're securing it that quick, you can't. It's not like days and weeks of like talking back and forth. There's something they say that's just like, hey.
Back in the day,
here's my address. Like, what are you saying?
I was not bad. I mean, this is really embarrassing. I did get kicked off of Tinder at one point for just posting a picture of my penis as my as my story. You know when they had moments.
I didn't know.
And I got likes, and I was actually getting some people hitting me up. I think not because of anything particular about my penis, but they're just like, "Whoa, this guy's insane." And
was it a normal body shot, or was it just like this?
No, it was like a penis. It was just a penis.
so was it like you in front of the mirror? Like,
could have been anyone's penis.
Yeah. Was it anyone's penis?
I shouldn't have. No, it was my penis. I shouldn't have opened with that because now you're going to be like, this guy's an idiot. Yeah, just no. I was pretty good. Like I did well on Tinder. And I'm trying to think of what. Like, I'm sure it's changed a little bit too. I do think I used to do Tinder a lot pre-Me Too.
Yeah.
And I do think that's changed, like, the conscious.
Because you could just be more direct or more like.
Yeah. I'd go like, here's my phone number. What are you doing tonight? It was a numbers game.
Yeah.
What's going on? What are you doing? Like, I'm gonna be here. You want to meet here? And sometimes that would happen. Sometimes, a lot of the time, you're aggressive, and the girl doesn't respond initially. and then a week or two later, they're like,
she's neat.
She's like, you know, I've been fucked over. I'm in the mood now. I was on my period before. I'm not now. Whatever sort of kismet shit happens. She's in the mood, and then you meet up. Like it's both an. This is like pure scumbag stuff. I should have holes in. There should be meth. As I'm saying this, there should be holes just ripping into my jeans. It's a numbers game where you have to hit up as many girls as humanly possible, and it's a long game. So you're betting on. I'm a gambler. Futures bets. It's like before the season starts, you're like, I think the Jackson. I'm gonna bet $10 on the Jacksonville Jaguars, and if they win, I win $20,000. You're doing that on a bunch of teams, good teams, bad teams, okay team, everybody, and then you'll win some money. Something will happen.
And you'll get some of it back.
You'll get some of it back, and you're and like emotionally, that's what Tinder is.
Yeah.
If you do it right, you'll get some of what you invested emotionally back. Not everything, because it's like not that healthy. You're meeting strangers. You get catfished by a fat girl, and you're like, well, I guess I gotta fuck this fat girl. You know, that happens.
Yeah, dude. I think it's like terrible for the mind when it just like because it just creates the thing in everybody's head that like, oh, there's always other options out there now.
Yes.
You know, I can always do better. You can look through the app.
No, it's horrible.
Like,
it's porn for dating.
Yeah.
It's not good
It's porn for porn in a lot of cases.
So, what do you mean?
If you, dude, I would say it's maybe 23 to 28% of the women on at least Hinge, if they have their Instagram in their thing,
they're trying to get followers.
You click, you click on their Instagram, and in the Instagram there's a link. In the link, there's OnlyFans, dude. So half the girls you see on Hinge, whatever, you can see their tits within 30 seconds.
No, that makes sense. Well, this is my back in my day moment. Dude, I was using Tinder when it came out.
When was it, like 10 years ago?
Dude, I was using Tinder pre-Uber. At least 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I was living in Chicago. I was 23, 24.
Was it more like Grindr back then, or was it just more like...
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what Grindr's like. I
don't either.
I know it's fast. It probably was faster. Yeah. People were just down. And I was in a city like Chicago is a city where there's like very little prejudgment. People are just down to hang out. People are just like, yeah, sure, let's fuck tonight. Yeah, whatever. You know? No pretense. We don't have to hang out afterwards. Let's go out and drink and see what happens. There was a lot of that.
Yeah.
And it was, I've said this multiple times on this podcast, very fun. I don't have any regrets about it. And I'm sure that much like someone who's dealt with any sort of lightweight trauma, I'm blocking a lot of weird shit out that happened. I'm sure I am. But in hindsight, which is usually positive, total fucking blast. I bet it's not as fun now. You're dealing with social media channels and OnlyFans and promotion. What a shit show. And back then, if you matched with a Russian supermodel, you're like, oh, she's a fake human being. You didn't like get sucked into some weird shit where you're getting blackmailed and you're on her OnlyFans. And
you're in Target buying gift cards to send her. Like, what is going on?
You wake up and your kidney's gone. That can happen now. I wish we could talk more. I'm going to have you back on. I want to play the Ben Changed My Life song. But plug whatever you want to plug first. Anything you want to plug.
I don't have any major plugs right now. It's kind of, I guess we didn't really talk about this too much. Me and a buddy of mine are going to be running half-hour specials in like 3 months from now. We're still getting those details out. But we're basically going to be doing 2 shows back to back. Each of us will get a nice 30-minute tape. Follow me at Samual Orson if you want to be up to date on that. And that's really all I have.
Samuel Orson on every platform.
Everything, yeah.
Okay. And now you want to hear the song? You're a musician. Yeah. So this is my buddy who does digital marketing. He's not a musician. Just want to let you know. The rest is pretty bad.
I like it, dude.
I would want to use the beginning with, in a world where I'm like able to be more worthwhile for the people who help me produce this, I would want like the Ben Changed My Life emblem and then that song to play briefly, and then we do what we just did.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I mean, who the fuck has a? Oh, let me show the emblem.
Dude, you need some like little After Effects graphic. I mean, I guess that's what you're talking about.
You do production, you do video stuff.
Yeah, I do a little After Effects stuff.
Yeah, that's what I need.
Just
I need to figure out a way to. I'm gonna pretend to be a woman on a dating app and blackmail you into helping me out on my podcast. Is that? Yeah. So that's it. Samuel Orson. It's so great having him here. Guy's awesome. Let's give him a round of applause.